This is an opportunity landscape for flow in companies. This is an opportunity for companies to differentiate themselves. This is an opportunity for leaders to rise.
If you have great leadership, then you're going to be able to really accelerate. If your leadership is poor, as Bob mentioned, across all levels, then stuff's going to break, and it might break catastrophically.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
In today's world, AI enabled means output, output, output. It is faster than ever. It is easier than ever to create more code. The question on the table for today is, does that make your product, your customers, your life better? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We're going to talk through what makes it yes and what makes it a no. So is faster better? Robert, lead us off.
Well, I'll start with this, right? I on LinkedIn this morning, I was looking at I do research in the morning, and James Bach popped up in a TikTok video, and he was talking about recruiting, and he was venting about recruiting and how bad it is. And his heart was going out to people who are looking for jobs now. So I'll say AI systems, and it's largely automation. AI systems in recruiting is incredibly fast. Rejections are incredibly fast. Filtering is incredibly fast. But does that make it better? And he was lamenting how awful it is for the candidates to go through that process. And I would argue it's filtering out really great candidates. Whether you probably don't even know it. You probably don't even know from an HR person, a human perspective, how the quality of the input is just sort of matches, and the people that you're missing, those diamonds in the rough. You and I've talked about on the Metacast before, of finding those diamonds in the rough, not being too persnickety about universities people have gone to or their experience and things like that. So I think that's a case. I know it's not the direct case you were looking for, but there's a case where it's super fast, right? How many candidates can they examine? There's thousands of people applying, and I'm sure it's filtering all of this stuff out. So super fast, but is it good? And I would say probably not. But it's hard to quantify it. I'm sure the HR teams think they're doing great work, but I see so many people who are unemployed that I would hire if I had a company. They're great. They're freaking great, and they're just somehow they're getting masked out, and that's what James was alluding to.
Yeah, I've got an analogy or metaphor, whatever the right word is. I'm sure somebody in the comments will correct me with that, but one of the things I think about after the divorce, I obviously hit some dating apps, right? And so it's so much faster to air quote meet people, but you don't meet people. And as I was like frantically swiping left over and over again, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm making these snap judgments based on so little data about this human that I could have just swiped left, potentially the most perfect match in the universe, because I relied on an app and like 50 words and a couple pictures for me to decide who they were. So much like the dating app space, I feel like the hiring process has turned into so much of that it's created an issue. To me, that's one of those things where faster is faster. Faster doesn't always mean better. And what I've found and what I'm seeing is the companies that already had great practices in place of how they roll out product to customers, how they roll out product within their own company. If they're already good at that, then the capability to create more output, aka more features, more bug fixes, more whatever it is, actually is better. But I believe that's a real rarity. The number of companies I've seen that really struggle with effectively communicating, not just to their customers, but internally, of this is what's happening, this is what's coming out, this is how you use it, this is the difference that it makes. Not enough companies are really great at that. So then you get this like onslaught of change that creates a challenge not only for your customers but within your company. And yes, you can recover, and yes, maybe that's a good problem, that it forces you to figure all of that out. So there might be eventually an outcome that is good, but there's still real challenges with getting there. So just the fact that we can create more doesn't mean it's moving the needle for your customers. It might actually be moving the needle in the opposite direction, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
Well, it's the human interaction. If you look at the HR example I gave, right, it's excluding human interaction, and so you're getting lots of stuff, but you're not getting this collaborative action. I'll give you another story, Josh, and I think it might be relevant to this. It's not an AI story, but I remember at iContact when we were implementing Scrum there, or Agile, and transforming the engineering organization. At one point, our productivity, pre-Agile versus post-Agile, was like 3 times, probably somewhere between 3 times to 4 times the productivity of the engineering organization. And I starkly remember at one point that our product roadmap, we ran ahead of the product roadmap, and we looked for senior leaders to give us feedback. It's like, and they were frozen. They were like, what, WTF? It's like, we don't have anything. We don't know we don't have anything in our customer list for right now. And so was faster better? Well, if the humans could keep up with the decision making, if the humans could keep up with good product decisions. So again, you can have AI chunking out features and code, but are the there are human systems. Last time I checked, there's humans involved in these decision-making processes to decide what's to go forward. We haven't we haven't eliminated CEOs. Thank God for that. We need to keep them. So they need to keep up as well. So it's faster. It depends on the flow. You know that lean flow thing? Like, again, it's you're faster downstream, but is your upstream decision making there? Or is even your deployment feedback loop there to keep up with that? And I don't think people are thinking about that.
Yeah, I've been very frustrated at some of the companies I've worked at in my previous lives, because we got real pushback on, hey, we need you to deploy slower because our customers can't adopt these features.
Yeah.
And they were large customers, so we were fundamentally changing their SOPs and how they did work, and they weren't prepared for that. And because they had been groomed to quarterly releases, that's what they expected. So they built their patterns and practices around that. So they had established that as a norm. And
I came is they a Teradata? Is that
was one of them? It wasn't the only one, right?
It wasn't all right.
There have been many where they established a pattern and the customer base acclimated towards it and optimized towards that. And then we came in and we were able to deliver features, not just that Agile was changing the game, but we had real CI and CD, and we could easily deploy stuff. It wasn't necessarily that we were doing things faster. Yes, we were, but that wasn't one of the game changers. It was, hey, we are shipping more often in smaller chunks because that protects us for a lot of reasons, and it enables us to do more effective engineering, which we did. So we wanted to ship, but customers started to push back. And so that was a frustrating moment. And then at that point, what I had to start doing was working the human element, start working across the organization about how we get better, how we can educate our customers, how we can help them ingest these changes more effectively. So just because we could do more, that didn't mean that whoever was receiving it could actually receive it. So there was then work that we had to do, much as Bob said, on the human side to help them, support them, and educate them to be able to receive at this new rate. And so if you translate that human element to your organization, is your organization ready to receive this amount of change at this pace? Most companies, I believe the answer is no. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but there's work to be done. Just because you can create more code doesn't mean that all of a sudden revenue is going to shoot up. It might actually drop a little bit, or, because you're spending more on tokens or whatever it is, and stuff's not landing in customers laps well, where they can engage with it, sign up for the new products, sign up for the new whatever it is, and now jump up the revenue like you were expecting.
I mean, it's that old looking at the pipeline fully versus sub-optimizing. There was a client that I visited in California years ago, and they kept hiring engineers. So forget AI. They just all of their budget they would spend like their year-over-year budgets. They would reinvest in 80% of it was adding developers, and but their real bottleneck was in QA. Their bottleneck was in a lack of QA and a lack of automation and a lack of QA engineers. So what happened is they were producing. They had this incredible backlog of features. We measured it, and it was taking like a year for features to flush through the end of the process to get to customers. And there were actually requests on some of the features. So by the time it got to a customer, they were like,
Oh,
"Well, we thought you ignored us, so we moved on. We don't care about it anymore." And I'm not making this stuff up, Josh. And so I'm like, you guys got to stop adding developers. You gotta look more holistically. It's the same thing with AI. It's jumping on the bandwagon thing and then just not really understanding your business flow. And that's not the only. If they would have improved that bottleneck, I guarantee you, Josh, they would have gone upstream in decision making in the leadership as to product features and things like that, because they were really struggling from that point of view as well. They just weren't even there yet. They were bottlenecked somewhere else. So going back is faster better sometimes, but I think it's is faster throughput, right, through your process, instead of looking at that sub-optimization. Instead of looking at, am I producing a lot more features or code, you're not measuring everything. You're not measuring it correctly. Your view is wrong. You want to apply AI to the entire downstream, but then you still have to you still have to deal with customers, and you still have to deal with leadership, right? There's a sort of at both ends of your flow, and I don't think that's automatable.
yeah. I think, again, the most expensive piece got faster, got
Yeah.
easier. Faster, yes. Easier, I don't know. That's an argument that we can make on a different thing. But the most expensive piece, where people are spending the most money, got faster. So now you have a bigger engine in your car that can get you to 200 miles an hour. But can the rest of the car support that speed? There are tires with specific speed ratings. Do the tires on your car, can they handle going that fast? And I believe for most organizations, the answer is no. Again, that doesn't mean you can't upgrade the tires, but there's work to be done there. So make sure that as you're generating more output, as you've leveled up the engine in your car, make sure you're leveling up all of the other pieces of the vehicle that's delivering value to your customers, because otherwise you will run into a wall. You will unfortunately have a piece fly off, and you're going to have to figure that out. So make sure, as Bob said, look at the throughput from concept to user using it, user paying you for that new thing. Make sure that all can run as fast as that new engine. And maybe this turns into a wonderful forcing function, where that's always been a little bit of an issue, but now because the issue is so massive, now you're forced to figure it out. So maybe that's a good thing, and might be things get worse before they get better. But as long as they get better, I think it's gonna work out. But there's real work for people out there.
I mean, you were saying the flow is concept to cash, Metacasters, and that's what you want to be. That's your view. That's your purview. And automation in all of the phases of that, or AI, can help in some areas more than others. But what I was going to say, Josh, as you were talking, I still think leaders are looking, and I'm going back to leadership again. So is faster better? Yes, if you have effective leadership, wise leadership, solid leadership. But I don't see that very often. And most leaders are looking for an easy button nowadays. Not just nowadays. Leaders have always been looking, AI, easy button. Oh, agile, easy button. Oh, a Microsoft Tools, easy button or whatever. Word perfect. That's a joke, Josh. Oh, easy button. Hit the easy button, and it'll solve everything for us, right? It'll. I'm able to sit back and go and buy a private island and go on my yacht and just take a break. And there are no easy buttons in this stuff. You need so with AI, you need solid leadership. I have a promise or a prediction, Metacasters. The successful AI companies of the future will also have really great leaders. Guess what? Human leaders will be guiding that. And not just leaders at the top, leaders throughout the organization that are making good decisions in with co-using with AI. So is faster better? Yes, if you have great leaders, and no, if you don't. And part of that leadership isn't just telling people what to do or leading people. It's like strategy development. It's balance development. It's looking at your pipeline. It's being able to look at your pipeline, making good decisions, growing your company in the right way, and hiring in the right way. Again, we had a Metacast. I was whining. We were whining about layoffs. I just Oracle just decided to lay off 30,000 up to 30,000 people. Largely, it's an AI play. So now you have bad leaders making bad leadership decisions. That's not an AI. I wouldn't fault AI for that. I'm faulting Oracle leadership for that, and all of the other companies that are laying off large chunks of people.
Yeah, just as we've said over the years that Agile is a spotlight on your organization and it's going to shine lights on the good things and the bad things, I believe that AI has the same capacity, potentially more capacity to do the same things. That if you have great leadership, then you're going to be able to really accelerate. If your leadership is poor, as Bob mentioned, across all levels, then stuff's going to break, and it might break catastrophically. So this really is a moment where I'm kind of excited because leadership is going to become more important than ever. There are folks that I've talked to in the space that are saying for engineers, they are looking for stronger leadership skills because they are viewing it as you effectively have to lead these AI agents down a path, and you have to be willing to say like, no, we're going down the wrong path. Let's fix that. Let's get back in control, as opposed to Bob and I have talked about the I'm out to lunch leaders or I'm playing golf leaders that kind of just let things go and like, oh yeah, that's not my problem. Now the problem is everybody's problem. And so there's a real potential. Optimistic Josh looks at this as this could generate some better leadership across the board. But the old thing we've always pushed back with is it takes real hard work, hard decisions from leaders to enable and empower folks to make that happen. So will it happen? I'm crossing my fingers. I'm saying, yes, it is. I'm hitting the I believe button, and this is going to help us in the long run. But yeah, without a doubt, it's going to be bumpy, right? And I've written about this. That was for Bob, about the number of outages that we've seen. So just take a moment and look at the past 6 months at the tools, the systems that are powering your life, be it your work life or your personal life, that have gone down. And it's been, they're out for a significant amount of time. And it is fundamentally more common now than it ever has been that major services that have been, on like the 5 nines model, as far as the uptime, the number of nines that they're actually able to deliver is lower. And that's because I believe faster is not better for everybody. And a lot of these companies are falling into that pattern. I think they'll figure their way out because there's going to be some smart people there, assuming they don't fire everybody. But as long as there's smart people there, I believe they'll figure it out.
Well, smart people and smart leaders, growing leaders. It's not just, growing ourselves, everyone. Josh and I have talked too much. Sometimes we talk about growing the people around us. But the corollary to that is you need to be growing yourself. I have an aside. It's sort of a silly, a quick one, Josh. But I'm using Claude lately to do some brainstorming for some classes and things like that, and it's doing a relatively good job. And I was looking at like advocacy, some agile coaching competencies, but I was asking it to look at advocacy, and for yourself in coaching, and to talk about coaching attributes. And it came up with this wonderful list of coaching attributes. And then I said, compare it against the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel and the competencies there. And I got this wonderful analysis. And I've noticed this pattern before. It, for some unknown reason, it skips two major competencies. Actually, what I think are the most important ones. For some reason, leadership and advising are the two competencies, and it skipped it. And I was like, I've done other research, and I now that I think about it, I'm like, you keep skipping these things. And I know what it's doing. It's going to an old model. There was something called the Agile Coaching Competency Framework. So I think I'm giving it the growth wheel, and it's analyzing that, but it's going back to the competencies of the ACCF. And then it says, oh, thank you for the catch. Right. Yeah. Thank you. You've seen this probably in coding, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking that. That was a good catch. But what I wanted to say is, well, what if I didn't catch it? What if I put that in a freaking book? What if I put it out there, and literally it missed probably the most important stances. And what I'm bringing in is the human element, the QA element, the thoroughness element, did it get it right? And I don't know why, but it keeps making that repeated mistake of missing these competencies, right? Yeah. And ChatGPT has done the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't know. It's a mathematical model that is going to predict what the most common answer would be based on the data it has been provided. Yeah. So based on the data that's provided, it says, oh, here's what most people would respond with based on all the data that I have. So anytime that you're trying to establish new ground or chart a new path, AI is not going to be a good partner for that, because AI is going to give you the most statistically relevant answer based on what the rest of the world has generated in text somewhere on the internet. So if you're trying to establish this is something new, it's not going to be a good partner.
But you're right. That's exactly what's happening. But it's not. This has been around for 6 or 7 years. It's just sort of skewing that way. All I'm getting at, right? I love the interaction, but what if you don't have a good human and you have a blindly trusting human validating the output, right? And I'm not that, but I'm like, you're missing a whole raft of stuff here, and that's all I'm saying. It goes back to it's a collaborative effort for the quality side of things, and we need that human validation. And I think a lot of folks, again, is faster better. It's not just the leadership side; it's interactive humans, like software architects reviewing, like having you. I don't want to put anything in production unless it's been Joshified. Right. And if you take a 2-week vacation, we aren't doing 15 releases while you're going, unless there's another Josification agent that is literally going to make sure that we're making good decisions.
Well, so let's talk about how these models are making their coding capabilities better. They are employing many, many, many humans to review what it's currently generating and saying, yes, that's right, or no, actually, this is better.
Yep.
So the only way that the AI models, that the LLMs are getting better, is by exactly what Bob said, continuously providing feedback on this is actually the correct answer. This is better. This is how it should be done. So there are massive research teams that are doing a lot of great work to improve the capability for us to get better at the coding side of the house. That I know for a fact. I assume, I don't know if that's fair, that it's happening across the rest of the use cases for the model. I don't know, because the revenue driver is certainly there for the language model companies on the coding side. I don't know if it's there for the rest of the world yet, but I do know there's a sizable investment happening there, and it's getting better because of humans. So that just validates everything that Bob just said, of that human in the loop is really an important piece. And I am not at a point where I can be completely hands off. And I've done a lot of work with Claude Code trying to get it to get me from concept to cash, just as Bob said, as quickly as possible. But I am not at the point where many companies proclaim they are, where they are completely hands off and they have all these agents, shipping code 50,000 times a second. I am not there yet. Maybe there's something I haven't learned yet. Maybe there's something I haven't figured out yet. Maybe I'll get there, but I am not willing to put the future of a company that I'm working on solely on that. That feels like an irresponsible move.
Going back to the premise Metacasters, maybe at the beginning, is faster better? I think it depends, right? I think the real answer is it depends, and it's not just faster with AI, but it's having human interaction. And also thinking about, it goes, Josh and I, well, Josh, I'm going to make fun of these companies that the customers are like, they want them to slow down. It's not just within the company. It's looking at your market landscape and saying it has to land in the hands of a human. Like if you change, I'm a little scared of a future world where the interaction of an application that I'm depending on changes 15 times a day because the AI enables that kind of thing. My human body, my eyes and my fingers and my brain will really struggle with that. And what will happen is it will slow me down, right? I'll be like downloading, what did they do? Oh shit, how do I change? And this is already happening. I'm already seeing some of this stuff happen. And so we have to go as fast as we can from concept to cache. And I would say cache is also the customer's usability aspect. And we can sit back and laugh, oh, it's an old guy, we don't care. Right. Oh, okay. Well then, but that's a market that now you're narrowing your market because you're going to piss me off at some point, and I'm going to go somewhere else. So there's this speed, but let's call it thoughtful, moderated speed that's going as fast as you can to keep the dynamics correct. And I know folks are not thinking. Most companies are not thinking that way right now, but we need to be thinking that way. And then go as fast as you can. I'm not being a curmudgeon. I am not anti-speed. I'm like pro-thoughtful speed, I guess, is the way it is. Josh, last word?
So faster has the potential to be better. However, I don't believe most companies are in a position for faster to actually be better for the customers and potentially not create churn. Just as Bob talked about, his experience is you might see a little bump, but also what happens after is, do people start to walk away from your product because reliability is going down? And reliability isn't just it being up, but me being able to reliably use the thing with confidence and make a difference and be like, yes, this made my day better. So that's one of those things where faster, especially on the user end, isn't always better, and that can lead to real churn. So I'm not saying it automatically equals churn, because there's a lot of work you can do as an organization, as a leader, to ensure that lands well, but you have to be thoughtful about it. And don't just optimize the engine in your vehicle, because that could lead to painful, fender benders. Hopefully that's all it is. It's just a fender bender, and it's not you're smashing into a wall. But there's some real challenges there. And you know what? Those challenges have always existed, and you've probably been able to get away with it because your engine isn't running fast enough. So now if you've invested in this engine's really running, you're going to notice a little shimmy in your car, and you're going to figure, oh no, I should have balanced my tires a long time ago, or I should have rotated the tires, or I should have got new shocks or new brakes or whatever it is, right? And you've been able to get away with that, but now you can't. So you have to aggressively go fix those things. And guess what? Just like you're thinking, oh my gosh, how much is that going to take? How much money am I going to have to spend to fix my car? The same is true with your organization. You're going to have to invest heavily to make those fixes, and it won't be easy and it will be costly. But if you do it and you do it well, then you will be able to move your vehicle down the road much more effectively. But there's a lot of work out there.
Absolutely. I want to quickly re-land with just emphasizing something Josh said earlier, Metacasters, that this is an opportunity landscape. I firmly believe it. So I agree 100% with him. This is an opportunity landscape for flow in companies. This is an opportunity for companies to differentiate themselves. This is an opportunity for leaders to rise and figure out how they work within these systems the way we're talking about, how they become better leaders. And leaders at all levels of the organization. It's going to require humans to really raise their game. So it's an opportunity for that. And don't let that get lost. Sometimes I know I'm whining and complaining, or I'm being negative Bob and things like that. And it's relevant, but this is really a time, probably a rare time of opportunity. Now, will we meet it? That's the question. But this is an opportunistic time. So let's view it that way, and let's get out there and let's raise the bar. So, from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina,
In beautiful downtown Fuquay, Verena, North Carolina.
I'm Bob, Mr. Positive Galen.
And I'm Josh, the Optimist Anderson.
Shake
And bake.
Take care, y'all.